My team, kinda power. I love the power. I love the power.
Hi, and welcome to a very exciting edition of the BigFooty Port Adelaide podcast, a weekly show dedicated to talking all things Port Adelaide. I'm Enviable Tradition, and this week I'm here with my co-host Macca 19.
Gunner power.
And also DonDraper as well. G'day, Don.
G'day, boys. Hey, how are you?
And so obviously it's a pretty exciting this week. It's a big week in Adelaide with a showdown on, and an even bigger week when we get up by just 4 points. You know, it was a fantastic game. It was super exciting. It just had everything as far as Port supporters go. Slightly less exciting to see the Maggies go down by 63 points to Norwood, but we'll talk about that a little bit later. Let's focus on the power win because it was magnificent, and we might jump straight into it, guys. We might jump to you, Macca, and get your love and your hate for the week.
Sure thing. My love for this week is just the Port Adelaide Footy Club as a whole. I mean, what a fantastic footy club we support here. From sort of late last week with the reserves issue, and the stance we took with that, I was so proud of the fact that we're not going to get rid of our zones and all the hoo-ha about that. And then the Showdown win, I mean, just what a brilliant, brilliant win. It's probably the best win for the year. My dad always told me, I still go to the footy with him every week. I love it. He always told me never write off the Magpies, never write off Port Adelaide. And it's true again. You know, we haven't had that for so long now, for the last 4 or 5 years. But it's true again. You can trust in these players. You can trust in this group. That never give in attitude. It's just so proud and so fantastic to believe in this club again. So that's my love. My hate this week, it's a bit of a cheeky one. I just wished, knowing that we won the game, in hindsight, it would have been so much better if Chad Wingard took a mark 20 seconds later and had a kick after the siren to break the Crows' hearts. That would have just been perfect.
Nice. I like it. Donnie, what did you think, mate?
Well, my love of the week was everything, like life in general. No one likes going to work on a Monday morning, but I loved it this week. It was just fantastic. But on a serious note, our captain, Travis Boak, he's just everything to me right now. I just love that boy so much. His 3 involvements especially, the last bounce after Gus Gold, the bounce, he was first to the ball, first to win the clearance, which he was just everywhere in that last quarter. I think he sprayed it and it went to Brad, and then Brad went to the wing, and then Boak was just there again somehow. And then the ball goes into the half-forward line, and Trav wins a great 50-50 to handball to Wines, to handball to Gus to set up the Wingod goal. He's just an absolute true captain. He just wheels us over the line. He was brilliant against Brisbane, and I think he was even better in the Showdown. If we didn't have a boy called Chad Wingard, who is just a star, I think Boakey would have gone very close to that medal, or at least the best Port player.
And so what did you hate, mate?
I hated how we started the third quarter. At halftime, I couldn't see anything but us winning. We had all the run. We looked better. And we just came out so flat, you know. Our run completely dried up. We couldn't move the ball. Some really poor turnovers. No one seemed to be moving up the ground. And they Schultz marked against Rutten and Gold, and that stemmed the flow a bit. But we just can't let sides stifle us like that and then go down the other end and hurt us. It happened against St Kilda, where we just kind of stopped playing and let them come back. Happened against Brisbane a little bit, but I think Brisbane just kind of made us pay by kicking really well. So just goals from turnovers. We just got to stop them. But it's hard to really hate anything. I had to think long and hard about that one. It was a pretty good week.
Yeah, and
Absolutely.
you know, my love for the week was just really just the delicious Crows fans' tears. Like it was one of those games where you just, you know, you could just feel their hearts break as that Montfrees ball bounced through. Like I reckon as that ball bounced through, everyone went, they're going to do this. Like you could just feel it coming. Like you just went, this is just our day. And the Crows fans must have just been sitting there going, oh, not again. I can't believe they're going to beat us in a showdown again. And that was just fantastic. I really enjoyed that. My hate for the week was Bruce McAvaney. I actually really like Bruce as a commentator. I reckon he's usually pretty good. He's a great commentator, usually. But that call from for someone who's usually a pretty unbiased commentator, who usually does a pretty good job, I reckon, was pretty ordinary. It was just barracking, and I I don't know whether that's a directive they get now to start barracking more for the teams and being a bit more one-sided in their calls to try and add some drama, or I don't know what's going on there, but it was un-Bruce-like, and it was just poor for a Port supporter watching that, listening to the way he was sort of pandering to that Crows audience and, trying to will them over the line. It's like, just call the game, Bruce. You're so good at it when you just call the game. Just stick to what you do best, I reckon. So
he went pretty quiet in the last 4 minutes, did he?
Yeah, exactly. That was the only good bit about it. Yeah. So that was my hate for the week. So, Macca, you're the review gun, so we're going to throw to you to do the review of the game, and then we might pass it around to everyone else a little bit after we've had your in-depth analysis. So tell us what you thought of the game as a whole, mate.
We got the power to win, power to roll. Come on, Port Adelaide aggression. We are the power from Port.
All right. I mean, what a stunning victory it was. I mean, Port Adelaide ended up running out winners by 4 points with a kick about 20 seconds from the siren. They won 17-5 to 15-13 in the end. It was just a brilliant game of football to watch. It was almost the exact opposite of the Brisbane game, which was pretty hard to watch. Pretty ordinary skills. This was, bang on, ready to go from the first siren. It was a pretty even first quarter. The game opened up in the second, with Port Adelaide kicking 7 goals. We really started to get on top in that midfield. We created many scoring options, especially guys like Wingod and Hartlett kicked 3 in the first half. Lobie was dominating the ruck. And then it all turned to shit. After half time, it was so similar to the St Kilda game, where I don't know what's going on at half time, whether we just sort of, in our minds, we relaxed that 5% and let the opposition have a bit of a sniff. But the Crows came out, they kicked the first goal, they ended up kicking 4 goals in about 6 minutes to take the lead. It was pretty unexpected. We just lost our run, we lost our handball, we were very sloppy, our defence was a mess, we failed to have any options up forward to kick to. And the Crows ended up leading by 2 kicks at the final change. Personally, I thought we were gone. I thought this is so similar to the St Kilda game, but we're actually behind now instead of a couple of goals up at the last change. I thought, they are looking really, really tired. And the fourth quarter, I mean, what a fantastic struggle. I mean, it ebbed and flowed. We got the first 2 of the last quarter. We got it back to a couple of points. And then Adelaide kicked away again. Their midfield got on top. Johnston got into the game again. Dangerfield kicked another. And then they stopped. I don't know if they thought they had it won, but it was an epic choke. And I'll talk about the turning points from Port's point of view in a minute. But there was a pretty big turning point. I mean, it's been talked about a lot, but Lewis Johnson decided to have a crack at goals. From about 55 out, he had Dangerfield about 15 metres on his own, 15 metres out from goal. They could have iced the game there, run down the clock. There would have been a minute left. Could we do it? Maybe, maybe not. But in the end, we cleared the ball from the stoppage. Monfries, I don't know what he hit in that goal square, but I mean, there must be a badger down there or something. I'm not sure. I think that's where Rick is tonight. I think he's down there trying to work out what happened.
I think there's been a few Port fans turned to religion this week after that. It was just
after the last game against Cowan, I'm going to run onto the field and kiss that spot where the ball landed, I think. And then obviously Wingard took an absolute fantastic mark right near the end, kicked the goal, and then Trengo's brilliant stoppage clearance to ice the game in the final seconds.
Jackson was terrific in that last ruck contest. I think it was Hocking that moved him there. He said that his leap would really benefit us, and Hinkley went with that, which is good to see our coaching box operating that way. I quite like that. It's not just Ken and then everyone else. It's a real big team ethos there.
Yeah, it was so Primus-esque, and even Russell Johnston, the ball went to ground, he followed up, and he just hoofed the living crap out of it, and it went 70 metres down to the pocket and out of bounds. I mean, you couldn't ask for... That was the perfect thing to do at that point in the game.
Do you think Jackson could will play there more? Can you guys see him really becoming like a pinch-hitting ruckman, like Westhoff is for us?
Or do you think to Westhoff?
I reckon it's a tough gig. I reckon it's a tough gig for a backman. It's hard to have a backman drop out of the back lines and come into the ruck without leaving you short. You know, it's a lot easier for a forward. You know, you can go small in your forward line and you can do it that way. But when you're playing as a key backman, you know, unless something happened, you know, unless you're either, you know, kind of desperate and need a bit of a run late in the game and you can have a crack at it, or you know, there's an injury for the opposition and all of a sudden you're left a bit tall, then he can go into the ruck. But otherwise, when he's your key cog, your centre half back, you know, your leader in your background, and he is such a leader now. It's really hard for him to go consistently and regularly into the ruck, I think.
I wouldn't mind it as much if Jonas was there. I think having Carlisle, Jonas, and maybe even like Homsch back there, then Trengove can kind of push up and be a bit more of a swingman. But I think centre half backs we need him to cement that spot. But I was very happy with his cameo.
Yeah, it was a ripper, wasn't it?
Yeah, just a few points. I reckon it's easily my favourite win of the season, as I'm sure it's everyone's. We've had some great ones, but just the manner in which we were able to win, like, you just can't beat that. We'll be talking about this game for years to come. It's massive in the context of us making the 8-2. With Carlton losing on the Saturday, we had everything to play for, you know, and just that will to get over the line, we're not going away, you know, if we're going to fight this till the bitter end here. Chad Wingard, I mean, we all know how great he is. What more can you really say? But he's clutch. Like, he says his sporting idols, LeBron James. He played like him, you know. He wanted the ball. He wanted the big moment. 5 goals, 24 touches. I mean, he's 19, you know. You got to pinch yourself sometimes. Yeah? He's a second-year player. To put up numbers like that in the context of the game, I mean, it was a finals-like game. Just says it all. And what I love about him is he's not like an X factor for us in that, you know, if he's on, he's great. He's always on. Like, he's been consistent and he's going to be. It's just fantastic for us going forward that we can rely on him to really give us a spark almost always, you know.
Yeah, it's pretty phenomenal for someone that young to be playing that good, that consistently, isn't it? I mean, it's there's not many players that can do that.
I keep waiting for him to fall over or get tired or fatigue as the season goes on, but it's just not happening. Like, he gets better. It's incredible.
Well, he played 20 games last year. Like, for a first-year player, that's a lot. Like, that's a lot of football to play. Normally, they're nurtured and everything, or they get injured. You know, he's just, I mean, touch wood here, but he's just he's just great.
And that's probably one of the most pleasing things for us is we have got these young guys continuing to perform so deep into the season. Like, even guys like, you know, Ollie Wines, you know, wasn't his brilliant best, but is still, you know, chugging away, getting some good numbers, playing some good footy. You know, Wingard's doing well, Moore's doing well. You know, Colhoun comes in, does well. You know, these young guys deep into the season, when often they start to fade, just look like they're getting better and better.
Yeah. I've got a bit of a experience from the game. So I was sat behind the goal, was where Chad kicked the goal, and obviously the atmosphere was fantastic. The banter with the fans was all right, but there were these 2 guys and 2 girls in front of us, these Crows fans, who came out with probably the call of the century that Mark Bickley was a better footballer than Warren Treadway.
Elbows Bickley. Wow.
Yeah.
Oh,
So,
my goodness.
one of my friends let them know all about that, and then proceeded to tell everyone else. But they started singing the Crow song with 3 minutes left, so that was pretty fantastic. Yeah, just, you can't write that, you know. And just the passion, like, our fans, like, they were absolutely brilliant. You know, the noise that they created at the end there, like, you couldn't tell it was a Crows home game. You know, it's all a bit of a blur for me. But I think I fell over a couple of Warriors just hugging random people. So
it was just a brilliant
the Moe
game.
came out as well.
Yes, the Moe did come out. I got sprayed in a Moe. I thought that, you know, it might have been a bad omen that a few of the guys bought it before the game. They were that confident that we were going to win. But if ever there was a moment for Moe, it was that.
Brilliant. And I've got to say, it was one of those games where I thought we were going to win it the whole time. It's such a weird thing to say, but if you go back and have, even on the game day thread, I was watching it at home this time. I usually like to go to the away showdowns, but I was watching it at home. I was typing away, and I just had this feeling that we just kept going. You know, even when we started playing bad, you sort of felt like if we can just hang in, they were always going to come out hard at the start of that third quarter, and they were always going to start to peg it back a little bit. But you just felt like if we just hang in here, you know, we've got them. We've got them covered. And really, it's about those young guys who are stepping up. I mean, even Boak, he's still a pretty young guy, and he's just stepped up to a whole nother level. Jackson Trengove's stepping up to a whole nother level. But, guys like Wingod, guys like Moore, as I said before, Colquhoun I thought was just fantastic for his second game player, I think. I just thought he was exceptional. His composure and his decision making in that game was just magnificent, and got us out of a few tricky situations. So, it was just one of those games where you thought, this team, and I tell you what, there's no way I would have thought that in the previous couple of years. But this year, you just watch a game like that and you think, no, this team can do this, and they're going to do this. And that's a really great thing. I think that's what we've all always loved about following Port Adelaide, is that no matter what situation you're in, you think, this team can do this. I remember that grand final, was it a semi-final against the Eagles, where we were getting flogged, and we were getting done, and I had a mate who was there, who was an Eagles fan, who was just giving it to me. And, you just went, no, this is Port Adelaide. Like, you just don't know what you're talking about. And sure enough, we came back. Scotty came back from an injury, I think, kicked a bag in the last quarter, and you just kind of go, that's just what we do. It's what Port Adelaide do, and it's why people hate Port Adelaide, let's face it, because we've done that to them over and over again, and it's so nice to see it come back. So nice.
What did you guys think of Hartlett's game, by the way?
Yeah, I thought he was pretty good. I thought, not his exceptional best, again, as I said about Ollie Wines, he could play better, but gee, if we can get that out of Hartlett every week on a consistent basis, you'd be very happy, I reckon.
His first half was brilliant. It was that goal he kicked in the first quarter. He's just that leg is just phenomenal. I thought he climbed up a bit in the second half, but maybe a bit more attention went to him. But yeah, I mean, he had 3 goals to half time. I thought he had the medal. But I
thought he had a great game. I thought he was brilliant. I thought it was probably his second or third best game for the year. I mean, that first half, this is why everyone that posts on BigFooty know how critical I've been of him earlier in the season. And I just don't understand why we don't put him on the half-forward flank more often, because he's that dangerous in front of goals. Yeah. Instead of us throwing him in a back pocket where he just can't get a kick, can't get into the game, chuck him into the forward lines, and he's going to kick a couple of goals every single week.
And let's face it, he doesn't have
getting it in the midfield.
And let's face it, he doesn't have to be right in front of goals. Anywhere forward to centre, just about. He's going to have a crack.
Oh, that first goal went about 75 metres. It was massive.
On a half-forward flank, even if he just can't get into the game, chuck him there. If he takes a mark 65 out, he's going to have a crack, and that could be like a real fire starter for him, And then I think he's a big confidence player. Like, if he can get a few early touches, throw him in the middle, because his clearance work can be quite good. But when he's not on, he's just terrible, It's a fine line.
Yeah, well, question to the floor. Obviously, it looked like we were a little bit done, a little bit cooked, with about 10 minutes to go. What was the turning point? Like, what changed in that last 10 minutes that won us the game?
I think when Colquhoun goaled, I thought that, this could be on here, because that was for a young kid to just slot that. I thought this could be something good here, But I thought it was just our general clearance work. Like, Boak in that last quarter was everywhere. He was fantastic. And even like the play that set up Gus's wonder goal was, I think it was O'Shea's, Brad handball to O'Shea, and then just to have that, I'm just going to bomb it long here, I'm just going to throw it on the boot. And for Jackson to take that risk and push up, I don't know if that was a coaching initiative or if he just took it upon himself to just run off. I don't know what the Crows were doing. So that's how can you have that one-on-one at that time? And all they really needed was to put a couple of men back just to block that O'Shea kick. But the ball bounced well for Jackson, and the ball bounced even better for Mumphrey. So, but just that will to just move the ball quickly and just risk it. It was great.
Well, I put 2 words down here for that, Macca, and that was leadership and heart. And I thought, when the game was on the line, our leaders, Jacko went into the middle, Boak stepped up. I thought, those leaders at our club just stepped up. Evert got that crucial touch that you mentioned. Those leaders actually stepped up and just willed the ball. They won the footy. They won the taps. They got it going forward. And they just showed that leadership and they showed that heart. And it wasn't even our actual, named leaders, but there was real leadership from guys like Wingod, guys like Monfries, guys like Moore in that last quarter. All of the players were showing leadership and just diving in there and all saying, do you know what, I'm going to be the one who makes this happen. I'm going to be the one who turns this game. And I thought that's what it was. I thought it was, that leadership and heart that was so present in the Port team. And, let's face it, the leadership I don't think was there on the Crows team at all. I thought that was a pretty stark difference.
Yeah, look, can't disagree with any of that. I think, obviously, we've spoken about him quite a bit now, but Trengove moving into the ruck in the last 10 minutes, that was so crucial. He had that big leap over Jacobs, and it was a double whammy because we kept playing Lobie against Jacobs around the ground. We just put Trengove into the centre square. Obviously, Boak's massive last quarter. I mean, that's probably better than anything I've seen from Ablett or Watson this year in terms of a captain taking control of a game like that and winning it for his club. I thought Andrew Moore had a massive last quarter as well, and obviously Gray and Wingard stood up under pressure when it counted most. Yeah.
So who are your best players, Macca?
I remember us talking about this last week, and I said, well, I think it's going to be the foot soldiers that win the game, and you said, no, I reckon it's going to be the cream that rises to the top. If Adelaide held on, I reckon it would have been the foot soldiers that won it for them because they had a lot of second and third stringers that really did perform on the day.
Yeah.
But for us, I mean, you can't go past our cream. I mean, Wingard was best on ground. Boak was just behind him. Corns took Douglas to the cleaners. Obviously, Hartlett's massive game. I mean, I thought his last quarter was very, very underrated as well. Gray had a massive quarter in the last when it mattered. And Andrew Moore, I thought, he did such a good job in not letting Dangerfield boss him around in the midfield. And he was off the leash a bit in the last quarter, and I thought he stood up when it mattered as well. And pretty much all of them are first-round draft picks, so it was absolutely the cream that rose to the top to win this one.
Beautiful. Who'd you have, Donny?
Obviously, Chad, best on. Then Boakey, I'd Hammer, third best. I just thought Robbie Gray was fantastic. He gave us a lot of energy, and Lobie's tap to him that was the first off the run on at the end there. Just the awareness to keep on running and slot it was great. There was a few that could have got the last, but I'm probably going to go with Kane for the job he did on Douglas. I only really realised today I was going through the stats and I was like, where is Douglas's name here? And I kept on scrolling down to the bottom. I think he had 12 touches. I mean, he's had a pretty good year for the Crows, and Kane was just terrific.
Yeah, and I think, look, it sounds like we've all pretty much picked the same players here because I had Wingard, Boak, Hartlett and Corns as the top four. And, once again, as I said, it was those best players who really stood up and just did a fantastic job. And, we start looking at best young player then. I have a feeling we might all have the same name at the top. Who do you think there, mate?
I'm going to say Sammy Cahoon, solely because he came on early. No one really... it's been quite tough reading. People don't want him in the side, and they sort of do want him in the side. But for him to come on in his fifth game, and he had a big influence. He had a massive influence. He barely put a foot wrong. Like his spin turn out of trouble in that first quarter, and giving off the handball was fantastic. His coolness under pressure twice in the last quarter to A, kick that goal, and B, hit Wingard for the third last goal, I think it was. That was great. And I'm going to do an honourable mention to Cam O'Shea, who kept Tommy Lynch goalless for the first time in about 8 weeks. Beautiful.
And Donny, who do you think of the young guys, mate? Who'd you like?
Our standout young player was obviously Chad Wingard.
Yeah.
And then I've got Andrew Moore and the Hoon. Yeah, both had 16 touches. Moore had 7 tackles. He's just that extra big-bodied midfielder. And I think last week, Macca, you said next year's you're really excited to watch him play. I couldn't agree more. He's just going to be a gun, really. I just love the way he crashes in, and as long as he keeps on playing, he's only going to get better. Calhoun, absolutely loved his game. I don't think he'll be the sub this week. Surely not. 16 touches in a big game, I think he'll start against the Cats, which last time he played against Geelong, he was a bit frozen up there. But I think the more he plays, the better he's going to get. He can accumulate the ball too, so he knows just how to find it. It's just going to be getting a bit more composed. But he was great on Sunday.
Yeah, and once again, I'm pretty much agreeing with you guys. Wingard, obviously, for a young guy, he was a standout. He was amazing. It's so easy to forget that he's still a young player. I mean, he was just played an amazing game. He showed so much leadership. He stood up when it counted. It's phenomenal that he is a young player. And more, what a brilliant last quarter he had. I mean, he's really starting to show why he was rated so highly, why he was picked so highly. You know, there's been a lot of critique of him over the last couple of years, but he's got that big body. He's got a good size about him. He's got a good game. I think he's going to go on to be a very, very good footballer for us. And yeah, young Colquhoun, I mean, for a slight young guy, the confidence he showed, the composure that he showed, his disposal, his decision-making was just exceptional for someone so young, so new to the AFL scene. He just played a great game, and it was really exciting to see. He's definitely going to be a player for the future. He's obviously got some work to do on his, building up a little bit, but he's obviously got the tank there. He can run around. He's got the smarts. I think he's going to be a very good player for us for a long time to come. So it's exciting when you see those new players come in.
Cheer, cheer the black and the white. Honour the magpies day and by night. Live that.
So Macca, very quickly, we won't dwell on this one too much because it has been a pretty positive week, but do you want to give us a bit of a rundown of what happened to the Maggies against Norwood?
They were crap. Review over.
Yeah.
Basically. They lost 13 goals 5 to 2 goals 8 to Norwood. Second time in 3 weeks we've kicked under 3 goals for the game. We just don't have any targets up forward. We rely on the same players every week to win the bowl. Sammy Gray, Zane Kirkwood, Ben Newton, Luke Slattery. It's the same guys every week. We've got a massive leadership hole all across the ground. We drop our heads too often. We've got a very poor attitude when it comes to, when the chips are down to nutting out, at least a respectable score. And we just lack high-quality SANFL players across the park. The 3 big recruits for the year were Henry Slattery, Andrew Hayes and Jacob Surgeon, and I think they've played about 4 games between them for the year. We don't have any key forwards. We don't seem to have many coming through. And it's just not good enough. You expect more.
And Macca, how much do you reckon the off-field stuff is affecting the Maggies at the moment?
I'm not sure it's really going to be affecting them too much. I just don't think they're very good, to be honest. I just think we've got too many players that have been there for 4, 5, 6 years that seem to get games, regardless of how they play. And we just really lack some high-quality recruits to come in and really give us some leadership and some high-quality output, consistent output. That's what we need, is consistent output, and we just don't have it.
Yeah. And Donnie, have you had a chance to have a look at the SNFL and see some of the power plays running around, mate? Who takes your fancy from the young guys coming through?
I really like Ben Newton. I think I don't think he's going to get a chance this year because we're so late into the season. But I think next year he's a real shot. He just seems once again a bit like Andrew Moore, that good size, and he knows how to find the ball. I was actually at this game, but I didn't watch much of it. And I to say there was more atmosphere when the first ball was bounced at the only Jets walkable C grade game I went to a few weeks ago. Just no one cared. It was just dead there. So I'm sad to see, in a way, but yeah. It's just I'm a bit angry at the SNFL, so I don't really care.
Well, I thought from the power plays, it's pretty exciting to see Blee stepping up. Obviously the best player coming into the power side this week, which is pretty exciting for him. He's an interesting type. It's going to be interesting to see how he goes back in the power team. He's an interesting size. He's kind of that, in between size. Is he a key position player? Is he a midfielder? Is he a runner? Or can he be just that real versatile player, a bit like a Paul Stewart, who can come in and play a number of roles and, give us that real flexibility, which is very important in the AFL nowadays. So I think it's great that he's been doing well. It's really exciting. He's still only 22. It's so easy to forget. You think he's this mature ager that's come in. He's been around for a couple of years. He must be, mid-20s. But he's still a young guy at 22 as a pretty tall lad to be coming through. I think it's going to be really exciting to see what he can offer at AFL level. And, against Geelong, who do have a few bigger bodies, it's probably a good chance for him to come in and, get his body in there and see what he can put up with, what he can put up for us. What do you think, Macca?
I agree. I've been raving on about Blee for the last couple of weeks on the podcast, and I think it's fantastic that he gets his chance now. I reckon he'll play pretty well this week. Also great to see Campbell Heath continuing to play well for the Eagles, and Aaron Young his second really good week in a row.
Yeah, cool. So there's some players there, and once again, that's the exciting thing. There's some young players there who are stepping up, who are putting the runs on the board, giving us that depth to come through. Obviously, we've still got a pretty skinny injury list. We have been lucky on that front, I think, this year, but it's good to see those guys coming up and pushing through. And speaking of the guys coming up and pushing through, we've now got the second part of our interview with Brendan Ah Chee. So sit back and have a listen to that, and we'll see you guys on the other side.
What's your goal, like, in relation to playing for the Port Power side? Have you set yourself a target, and are the coaches talking to you and helping you to try and achieve that goal?
Yeah, so basically every week we catch up with a development coach, so either Stewie Cochran, Tyson Edwards or Daniel Healy, and they sort of, give us goals for the weekend, and we're told what we have to do in order to, impress the coaches and stuff. So as I said, the Maggie's got nine weeks left, so for me it's just basically playing consistent, improving footy each week, getting better each week. And if I can do that and show that I've been working on all the things during training that Ken Hinkley and the development coaches are telling me to, then if they see that, then there's no reason why I can't make my debut or get another contract. So that's what I'm just hoping to do, just enjoy the last 9 rounds and play some strong footy.
Tyson Edwards was a fantastic footballer, wasn't he? I mean, 350 odd games for the Crows.
Yeah, exactly. So
yeah.
he's very got a wealth of knowledge, and that's why he's a good development coach. He just keeps it really simple, doesn't overcomplicate things, just watches the game with you and just gives you really helpful tips. So he's been great for me and all the other development group.
Yeah, excellent. So do you get allocated a mentor or a role model other than the development coaches? And if so, who is it for you?
Yep. So the club's huge on off-field development. So not just development as a footy player, development as a human being. So in your first year, the club allocates you a mentor outside of footy. So it's almost like a life mentor sort of thing. So my mentor was the great Port Magpies player Tony Giles, and I catch up with him maybe once every 3 or 4 weeks just to talk about how I'm going, and just another person, just another outlet you can sort of escape from footy and just talk to and feel relaxed and comfortable. So he's a great bloke. He's been looking out for me, and I look forward to catching up with him every month.
Get to learn from one of the best.
Yeah, exactly, and he's a pretty accomplished businessman as well, so he's got all those tips and stuff just for life in general.
Sure. I mean, I'm here with part of the online forum with BigFooty, but obviously you got online media and newspapers and everything like that. With the players like yourself or the other players, is that something you avoid because the media can be overly critical, or is it something you look at and embrace and just sort of take?
Well, at Port Adelaide we embrace it because that's just the modern day trend, is that media, it can sometimes be your enemy, but most of the time it's huge because the biggest thing in AFL is supporters. So if supporters can find out what's going around the club, they love that sort of stuff, and the players and the coaches are all really open and honest when talking about the goings on at the club. So it's just all for the giving back to the community and giving back to the supporters, making sure that they're enjoying being Port Adelaide supporters because we're enjoying being players.
It's got to be hard with the balance, I guess, with the media, because sometimes, especially with the high-profile players, they can be a bit scathing at times, can't they? Dane Swan and all those, they can get it. So you just got to be careful with the feedback. But I've got a question here. Are you mates with Chad Wingard, and is Chad your idol?
I am mates with Chad Wingard, yes. We were drafted together, so we sort of got that straight away sort of bond.
Yep.
But is he my idol? He's not my idol, but I do admire the way he goes about playing his footy. Obviously, having a good start to his career. So.
And he's a good mate.
And he's a good mate. Yeah.
Someone wants to know: is there a nickname committee? And if there was, is it true that you're called Liberace? Have you heard of that?
Liberace. Yeah.
There's a Liberace?
Yeah, that's what it was supposed to be. But no one calls me that.
No?
I don't even know where that came from.
Yeah.
I don't think there's a nickname committee, but I think just you go by what the guy's last name is or something they've done. That's why they get a nickname. So Liberace was never even mentioned.
No.
I don't know where that came from. So
I think it came up from a pre-season game, and Glenn Jakovich on Foxtel said that that was your nickname, and then it's just gone from there. Another one of those Chinese whispers, I guess.
Yeah, I guess so.
So do you have a nickname or any?
So I've got a few nicknames.
Have you?
Like certain boys call me certain things. So I've got Goodsy, Roland, the Duck, just all these random nicknames. So most of the time it's just Arch though. Just not to get called Arch.
Yeah. And someone wanted to know who Tom Cleary's flogging lifts off.
Where are these questions coming from? I'd probably be Chad because Tommy lives with Chaddy, so
Yeah.
I suppose Chaddy would be the one driving Tommy around, or probably even be Tom driving Chad around because Chad's pretty lazy. So
Is he?
Yeah.
And who'd be the club joker or prankster in the change rooms?
The biggest prankster would have to be Kane Corns. He's just always playing practical jokes in the change rooms, and he's always coming up with something to be a bit of a pest, but it keeps the boys entertained. So it's good.
Problem with Kane is that he'd be hard to catch, wouldn't he? Keeps on running.
And as soon as someone tries to give it back to him, he'll give it back tenfold. So he's always winning the games.
And someone wanted to know who'd be the club stud. That'd be yourself.
Nah, not me. It'd probably have to go to Chad Wingard again. I think the ladies just, I don't know, they just love him. I don't know why, but yeah, they love him. He'd be the club stud.
Must be the confidence.
Yeah, and the confidence, and
maybe those YouTube clips where he's shooting hoops and kicking goals.
Yeah, I'm sure that got him a bit of a few brownie points with the girls. And, do the things he does. So yeah, he'd be the club stud.
Okay, so another great interview. Really excited to have Brendan Ah Chee on. It's so great of the club once again. We'd like to put the big thank you out to the club for providing us with these players to do these interviews, giving us these insights as fans into the club. Once again, they just do such a brilliant job of really connecting with the fans and making us all feel part of this Port Adelaide football community, which I think is really important. So let's move on now. Let's start having a look towards next week. We've got Geelong at Simonds Stadium, which is a big ask, and has been proven that over the last few years. Macca, what do you expect to happen this week, mate?
Oh, look, it's going to be a tough one, that's for sure. I mean, can we win? I think we can. I honestly think we can. I mean, as I mentioned right at the start, we've got this aura about us at the moment where I just don't think we can go into any game without thinking that we can not win. Like, I honestly believe that we can win this game. It'll take a mighty effort to do so, but I think Geelong are entirely beatable. I mean, they lost last week. They've made a lot of changes to the side. They've made 5 changes, and they've taken both their ruckmen out in Blickavs and West. So they're going to put a lot of pressure on Nathan Vardy to handle the ruck work, I think. I mean, the key to Geelong, if you look at the stats, they're actually 16th in clearances. They're pretty low in hit-outs, but they're first in inside 50. So what that tells you, I think, is that they're well used to playing to a losing ruckman, and they get a lot of their run from half-back. I mean, their half-backs and their defence as a whole is fantastic. They win the ball and then they get it forward. So I think the key to beating Geelong is making sure that their half-back line's accountable. I think that's where we really lost the game last time we played them. Looking at the stats from the last game, Harry Taylor had 29 touches, 10 marks. Jimmy Bartell had 27 touches, 8 marks. Corey Enright had 25 touches, 10 marks. And Andrew Mackie had 23 touches and 9 marks. So, I mean, they're huge numbers for defenders. So if we can stop that, if we can stop their run through the corridor, and make sure that we have that quick movement through the middle part of the ground as well. And I think that's how North beat them last week. I mean, they blocked the corridor, they forced them wide, they forced them to play short, they stopped their run through the midfield. And something that was really noticeable is that they went one-on-one all over the ground. They waited for the turnover, they used Pagan's paddock to great effect. And I think it proves that Geelong can be, if we can force them into turnovers, we can score very, very quickly against them.
Yeah, and I think that's the key with Geelong. I don't think they're the team anymore that's willing to grind out a tough game. Like, they seem to be a team that, when they're on, when they're in front, if you give them any space, they'll cut you up and absolutely, decimate you. But if you just don't give them that space, if you make it a hard work for them, if you make them play short, as you said, make them play wide, make them fight for every contested ball, play a really, really solid defensive game with lots of defensive pressure, they just don't seem willing to really work through that anymore. And I think that's the opening we've got. I mean, it's going to be very tough for us. We're still a young team. We still do have that inconsistency. And so we're going to have to bring that defensive pressure for all 4 quarters if we want to beat them. If we lapse against them, even for half a quarter, even for 10 minutes, they'll pile on 5 goals and they'll kill the game. So I think really it does come down to us. If we can apply that pressure consistently for a whole game, I think we'll win. But I think that's going to be a big ask against the Cats. I think chances are we just give them that one little opening, and I reckon they'll jump in and take it. And they do just have that top end talent. They have that skill. They can really hurt teams. And that's the worry, I guess, from our point of view. I think is that if we just give them that little window, they'll run right over the top of us. What do you think, Donny?
Well, I think the real key here is last time we played them, Hawkins and Podge able to kick 10 goals between them. Trent Grove wasn't there though, so I'm hoping that he can really short us up down back. We've been a really good, tight defensive unit in recent weeks, and we're going to need to be on Saturday. I'd like to see Westhoff late in quarters, just floating back and trying to play that loose role. A bit like he did in the last quarter against the Saints. He really shored us up down there. And when we've got a 6-day break versus an 8-day break to them, they're going to finish quarters strong. And I'd really, really hope my pet peeve is just how we just stop playing for 10 minutes. You think of that Essendon game early in the second quarter. I think they kicked 6 in about 8 minutes. And Geelong can do that to us, so we really need to limit that. If we're going to have a fade out, try and just clog it up and really make it a scrap. As Macca said, I think I think we'll win the clearances. Geelong don't seem to really care about that all that often. But the midfield battle is going to be huge, and that's how we can really stop their tall forwards from getting on top of us. I've got Travis Boak, Brad Ebert, Hamish Hartler. They're the 3 guys that are going to win us this game. We need them to stamp their authority all over it. Hamish is our big match winner. He can just add that bit of polish and class. Boak's been in exceptional form, obviously, all season. And especially after what happened last year when, Geelong just kind of came in and thought they'd swoop him off back to Cardinia Park. I think Trav might want to prove that he's a bit of a Port Adelaide boy and really cracking hard on Saturday. Liking that a bit to the Sydney game where we've just won with 4 hard quarters of contested ball. We're going to need to do that. We're going to need to be really hungry. And if we can pull off the impossible and win, then finals, pretty much.
Yeah. And it's one of those games as well, I think, where if we can get over the line, then, it really does set us up for finals. It sends a bit of a message to the competition and says, hey, we're not just here to make up the numbers. We're actually going to be a genuine contender in the finals. And I think it'll give the boys confidence that they can win a final too. I think from that perspective, it'd be a great game to win. But so, Macca, what's your tip, mate? What do you think is going to happen?
I think we'll win. I honestly think we'll win. I'm going to tip Port by 8 points.
Nice. And Donnie, what are your thoughts, mate?
Has anyone not tipped Port Adelaide on this podcast yet? Because I don't want to be the first.
You might be the first. You might be the first, but I might be the second straight after you, so it's okay.
I'm gonna. I don't know. I think Mac's optimism might have swayed me. I'm gonna go Port by 4 again. We'll just sneak home.
We have had a couple of close ones, so they say things come in threes, but I think I've been a bit too optimistic in my predictions recently, so I'm going to tone it down a little bit. I reckon Geelong are going to get over the line by 21 points. I reckon we're going to stick with them for most of the game, and they're just going to give them that one little window, and they'll sneak past us. But I really hope I'm wrong. So, thanks for coming on again this week, guys. Hopefully, all the fans out there are enjoying it. We'd love to hear your feedback on the Big Footy thread, obviously. So jump on there, tell us what you think, tell us what your expectations are for the game, and until next week, go Power.
Cheers, guys. Carla Power.
Go boys.
He'll need to kick a goal here because we're 29 minutes gone and the breeze is going left to right. This is one of the toughest kicks ever.
He's a long way up. He hits it. And he's kicked it, I think. Hodges kicks it.
I don't believe it.
Port Adelaide, you are miracle workers.
That is unbelievable.
What
Hodges has kicked it. Unbelievable.
What a player. That is one of the most difficult shots for goal you could ever imagine. The breeze is going strongly from left to right. He's had to thread that through the eye of a needle.